Today is gonna be a little bit different, because the theory we are going to talk about is unlike any other theory on this channel. Few days ago we sat together with our Discord crew and we talked about the Darkin. We had a few different theories focused on different parts of their story, but at the end of our session, there was a spark in our conversation that ignited something bigger. Things fell in place almost far too well, as if there was no other way of explaining them. But in order to explain what we found out about the Darkin, we need to talk about a lot of different things. So even though this video might feel a bit confusing, I promise you in the end everything will fall in place. So let's have a look at what we know about the 5 remaining Darkin. Let's start with the general idea of who the Darkin are. We know they are a race from a different planet. They invaded Runeterra after sensing the major magic leak caused by the Rune Wars. And while most people think that the Darkin are just pure evil from the very beginning, those who carefully read the story know that's just not true. Varus revealed that the Darkin were working together with Runeterrans. The Darkin even gave them blood magic. It was something else that we don't know about that started the war between Runeterrans and the Darkin. Now, let's go a tiny bit back to the roots of this story. The Darkin invaded Runeterra after they noticed that the planet is a source of power. But they weren't hostile when they arrived. So they didn't want the power because they were conquerors or because of their greed. There must have been a real reason why they needed the power. And that reason is probably the same reason why they escaped their planet. It's because the Darkin homeworld was dying. Dying because of the galactic corruption we know about. The Void. This is a bold claim, but stay with me for now. Now let's jump to the comic Varus Retribution. Here we need to remember 3 important scenes. There is a scene where Varus fights back the invading Noxians, and as he is brought low, he is asked how many of his kind are out there, to which Varus answered, "We are all but extinct." There is also a scene where Varus says, "When I unite the 5, you will kneel as you once did before." And then there is a scene early on where he says, "We were so much more until you destroyed us, but you didn't destroy us all, and that mistake will be your undoing." When we look at these scenes, we realize that Runeterrans once kneeled before the Darkin, probably because the Darkin were simply more powerful, even though their intentions weren't necessarily evil. But as it is with any form of power, the lesser beings fear it, and that might have been what triggered the war. It was possibly the fact that Runeterrans felt pressured by the Darkin invading their world. But what did the Darkin want here? Well, if their homeworld was being consumed by the Void, they had 2 options. Either they had to take the magic of Runeterra in order to fight back the darkness, or, and this is the more likely story, they came to Runeterra in order to rally Runeterrans against the threat that destroyed their home. This is going back to the blood magic. The Darkin gave blood magic to Runeterrans in order to defend themselves. Things are going to get more complicated, so let me sum up what we know now. The Void attacked the Darkin homeworld. The Darkin found Runeterra. The Darkin worked together with Runeterrans to prepare them for a greater battle. Runeterrans started fearing the Darkin power and they fought them back. Here is where we need to have a look at the other 2 scenes from Varus's comic. He said that the Darkin race was nearly extinct, and the fact that they left few of them alive would be their undoing. But here's the thing. Why would the Runeterrans seal some of the Darkin when they know they can just kill them? In fact, the army of Runeterra wiped out nearly all of them. Why wouldn't they get rid of the last 5 as well? The answer is simple. The army of Runeterra, led by the Golden Warrior Queen, as revealed in Varus's story, wasn't powerful enough to simply fight them back. They had to turn the power of their enemies against them. That's the reason why we even have sealed Darkin on Runeterra in the first place. So they wiped out most of the Darkin but kept 5 of the most powerful ones as weapons. Don't worry, I know it's confusing and it will be even more confusing later on, but the big revelation is still coming. Now, let's bring Shurima into the mix. A lot of you might be wondering, why did Varus visit the tomb of the emperors at the end of his story? And we have an answer to that too. But let's first bring out the timeline of Shuriman events. At the beginning, right after Aurelian Sol visited Targonians, the Shuriman Empire rose. Then, the Battle of Icathia happened where Setaka, the warrior queen of the Ascended Host, was slain by the monsters of the Void. This confirms that Setaka cannot be the Golden Queen since she died after sealing Varus. After that, the events of Azir and Zerath destroyed the Empire. And because Varus knows Shurima as ruins, it was during this time that the Darkin invasion happened. There were two waves. Aatrox was in the first wave and Varus was in the second wave. Also, notice when the second wave is mentioned in the story, things are already in heat. So it seems like the first wave was a scouting party and the second wave was a full-on aggressive invasion. On that topic, you may have noticed that Varus' story says that their reckless use of magic attracted the hunger of the Darkin, who sent their fiercest warriors to conquer this new world. But keep in mind that this was written in the story of someone who never worked together with Runeterrans. Varus was sent to Runeterra only to kill. Riot usually writes their stories from the view of the main character. So even though here it looks like the Darkin are pure evil, they actually aren't. As a proof, the exact same thing happened with Jace and Victor. From Jace's view, Victor was an evil man, and he was even described that way. But only after reading Victor's part did we learn that he is actually the good guy. But back to the Darkin and Shuriman timeline. So, Shurima rose, Icathia fell, Shurima fell, Darkin invasion, Darkin war happened, the Golden Queen sealed the Darkin, the Golden Queen closed the Darkin portal, and finally the Golden Queen died. Now, here is where we start connecting things. We know that the Darkin are the source of blood magic. Without them, there wouldn't even be blood magic on Runeterra. We also know that blood magic is very closely bound to resurrection or reanimation. Now, let's have a look at how the Darkin are sealed. Obviously, in Varus' story we see that Varus is sealed inside a well. A well that is told to fix that which is broken, as quoted from the comic. This is obviously referring to the Darkin power to resurrect through blood magic, which is exactly what the well does in the story. It resurrects Kai. So we know that the well is filled with blood magic, which is a bit obvious since a Darkin is inside. Now, since we know that one of the Darkin was successfully sealed inside a well, the chances are all other Darkin were also sealed inside wells. It just makes sense. Why would the Golden Queen use different forms of seals when she knows they can use the wells? But if you don't trust my logic, I have a proof that it is the wells that hold the Darkin sealed. When I looked at the ending of Varus' story, where he went down the tomb and looked for his sister, I was thinking his sister could have been Sivir's blade or maybe Renekton's blade, since the corruption would match. But things just didn't add up. How would he know his sister was there? If Varus was already locked away, how could he know where his other surviving kin were sealed? How would he know where to go? He only knew Shurima as ruins. It couldn't be Sivir's blade because her blade was sealed far away from the tomb in order to keep the key safe. So Varus couldn't have known his sister was the blade, because even if he knew where to go, the blade never was inside the tomb in the first place. Renekton's blade was mentioned in a story long before the first Darkin invasion, so it couldn't have been Renekton's blade either. So Varus was looking for something else inside the tomb, and after a while it clicked with me. It wasn't an item or a person he was looking for inside these tombs. It was a place that was shown during the Bloodline events. The well below Shurima. The well that holds the power to resurrect. The well which is triggered by Sivir's blood. The well which holds the power of blood magic Varus is looking for. The same well that is right next to where Varus' story ended. The only difference between this well and the one in Palace is their appearance. The one in Shurima is pure, and that's because we have never seen one of these wells without a Darkin inside. So if the Shuriman well is pure, that means the Darkin is already free. The same Darkin Varus calls his sister. That's why he couldn't find her. From this point on, everything begins to fall in place. Let's have a look at all the magical wells we know about. There is one in Palace in Ionia, which held Varus. There is one in Shurima, the mother of all life as they call it, which held Varus' sister. There is a blood well in Noxus, the heart of all blood magic where Cyan was resurrected and where Mordekaiser kept resurrecting over and over again. This is most likely where Rast was held since we know the scythe comes from Noxus. Then there is the Shadow Isles, previously known as the Blessed Isles, a place known for its healing waters and the power to resurrect the dead. The Ruined King tried to resurrect his queen here, but he failed and destroyed everything. It is possible that the resurrection spell didn't fully work because the place was corrupted by the Darkin power. If that's the case, I have no idea what happened to the Darkin inside. And as a bonus fact to support this theory, the name of Aatrox's passive is Bloodwell. This gives us 4 places with 4 wells that curiously fall insanely well into this theory. Now, you might be asking, why would the Golden Queen seal the final 5 Darkin in random places? Well, the easy answer is to spread the corruption. Rather than concentrating the power in one place, it is better to spread it around, so that if one Darkin is released, the others don't follow right after. That's why the Queen scattered the wells across Runeterra. So we have Ionia with Varus, Noxus with Rast, Shurima with the sister, and the Shadow Isles with an unknown Darkin. Now the final question is, where is the 5th well where Aatrox was sealed? When you look at all the regions of Runeterra, there are not too many places left. I doubt Targon would be a part of this. I doubt Demacia would have anything to do with magic either way. Piltover and Zoon are just cities and not regions. Then there is Bilgewater, but that is too close to the Shadow Isles. So the last place that makes sense is Freljord. Not only does the Tryndamere and Aatrox story fit into this theory too, but Freljord is known for its shapeshifters and dark magic. So while we don't really know where in Freljord it could be, it is the only place that makes sense. So now that we know who these last Darkin could be and where they could be from, let's look at some of the hints we have for future stories. Swain's teaser mentioned that the enemy comes from within. I think this is directly pointing at the core of Noxus. Not only is it confirmed to hold blood magic, but even Shen teleported here to fight some demons. So Noxus is definitely holding great power and Swain wants to deal with it. Also, we know that Swain was given Vastayan magic, and at the end of Varus' story, he mentions that a creature with bird-like features and a withered arm told him this is Shurima. It is likely that this was the creature from whom Swain took the power, since Riot wouldn't make such a detailed side character for no reason. Also, some people were confused by the soul of Varus, and I just want to say that he looks like a blue human because he was slowly drawing power from all the lost souls around the place. It was even mentioned in the behind the scenes video. He was slowly growing stronger until Val and Kai jumped in. And the last thing I want to mention is Aatrox. We never really knew why Aatrox was doing what he was doing. He appeared in the middle of a war, empowered one side and let them slaughter the other side. Now it makes sense. Aatrox is preparing the warriors for the greater enemy, the Void. He enraged Tryndamere and turned him into a powerful unit. He made sure the wiser mages won the rune wars, wiping out the weak and making the strong stronger. Aatrox isn't mindlessly making Runeterrans fight each other. He is creating an army ready to fight. An army he couldn't get any other way since his kin are gone. The other possibility is that this is just the way Darkin replicate. Maybe they turn mortal bodies into Darkin. But that would still mean Aatrox is making his own warriors. And that's pretty much it for this theory. I feel really good about this because things just work too well in this. So right now we are missing one Darkin, and we need to know what's happening in Freljord. I doubt the Watchers would be a part of this, but anything is possible. So, that's it for this video. If you liked it, feel free to rate the video and subscribe for more lore. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Discord if you'd like to chat. Few days ago we released a new episode of Know Your Lore with Bricky, so make sure to check it out too. Merch and P.O.Box will be in the description, and with that, thank you all so much for watching and for your support, you know I really appreciate it. And as always, thank you come again.